It's Monday, March 30th, 2026, and it's time to dive into the swamp. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for daily updates you probably won't see in the mainstream or on other YouTube channels. Every article is linked in the description below, and the highlight clips from this episode will be available on the channel tomorrow morning starting at 8 a.m. Eastern. We're going to start with farm girl Carrie Swalwell. Eric Swalwell, he's back in the news today, and he's been referred to the Department of Justice for mortgage fraud, just like Adam Schiff and all the other Democrats. For some reason, they're all committing mortgage fraud. Not really sure why. Probably because they just never thought that they'd ever get caught, but looks like Eric Swalwell might be among them. Let's see what else they turn up. So let's have a look at this to start things off.
Breaking just moments ago, Fox can now confirm that California Democrat Congressman Eric Swalwell
he just can't stay out of trouble, can he?
To the Department of Justice.
That's what low IQ gets you.
Of mortgage
and
fraud.
a member of the Democrat
Senior
Party.
White House correspondent Peter Ducey reporting live on this breaking news on Eric Swalwell from the North Lawn. Hey, Peter.
Martha, as I was walking up here to do a hit on a different topic, I got a call from an administration official filling us in that Eric Swalwell, the Democratic California congressman, has indeed been referred to the Justice Department by Bill Pulte, who is the head of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac right now, because he is accused of making false or misleading statements on a mortgage application. We believe that this pertains to a $1.2 million house that Swalwell has in the Washington, D.C. area.
Rules for
Swalwell has already responded. Part of his very long statement says, as the most vocal critic of Donald Trump over the last decade, and as the only person who still has a surviving lawsuit against him, the only thing I am surprised about is that it took him this long to come after me. Like James Comey and John
So
Bolton,
you admit
Adam
it?
Schiff, and Lisa
He's
Cook,
admitting to the
Letitia
mortgage
James,
fraud?
and the dozens more to come. I refuse to live in fear in what was once the freest country in the world.
Oh yeah, so long you're a Democrat, you can do whatever the fuck you want, apparently.
This is a criminal referral. Basically, a government agency thinks that they spotted something that is possibly illegal on mortgage documents from Swalwell. The Justice Department will now review these documents to see if a prosecutor believes that charges are worthy in this case, and then we would go from there in the judicial process. Martha?
I don't know, man. What do you think? You really think that he's going to get criminally charged with mortgage fraud? Adam Schiff, he's up for mortgage fraud investigation, or they're currently investigating him for mortgage fraud and also for wire fraud. And as I've learned during the COVID era, those PPP loans, if you get nailed with not mortgage fraud, but wire fraud, and you get convicted for it, they were handed down 10-year sentences like they were nothing when people were getting busted for those. And from Nick Schroeder, breaking FBI Director Kash Patel is pushing to release investigative files related to Eric Swalwell banging a Chinese spy, per Washington Post. Fang Fang's coming back to haunt Swalwell. Release it all.
And that's how I know we're winning. And if Eric Swalwell wants to come online and talk about what jacket size I wear, I'm happy to send him a women's medium so him and Fang Fang can go out again.
And the Democrat...
That actually reminds me back in 2016 when Marco Rubio and Trump were battling each other during the primaries, and Marco Rubio did that jab where he referred to Trump having small hands, and you know what they say about small hands, and then Trump, he pushed back against him, or he fought back a couple days later saying, oh yeah, well there's someone suggesting that I have small hands and that small hands means something else. I guarantee you there is no problem there, however he said it. I don't know, I'm butchering that for sure. All right, anyway, Rep. Anna Paulina Luna, okay, this is the one time I'm going to advocate for Rep. Swalwell. She's actually advocating for Swalwell. He's definitely not smart enough to have knowingly colluded with the CCP. Now, Eric, in the future, if she's above A6 and making passes at you, she's definitely a spy. You're welcome. And she's replying to Bethany O'Leary, breaking Swallow's well investigation reopened. The FBI has officially announced reopening the espionage case involving Congressman Eric Swalwell. All of his skeletons in his closet, man, they're all coming back to life, coming back to haunt him. Investigators are reportedly revisiting potential security breaches and ties to foreign intelligence.
Breaking just moments ago, Fox can now confirm that California Democrat Congressman Eric Swalwell has been criminally referred to the Department of Justice accused of mortgage fraud.
Oh yeah, we already saw that. We did, didn't we? I believe we did. So let's move on to the next one. All right, Red Trumper Fang Fang is dead. He slept with her for years and not a damn thing was done about it. Now they think he committed mortgage fraud. He needed to be gone like long ago. AG Pam Bondi is worthless. And, you know, I can pretty well agree to that on some level. She's definitely underperformed. She's been very underwhelming, to say the least, which is really disappointing for me because she was my state's attorney general going back to, when was that, like 2012 or something like that. She was our AG for multiple years during the 2010s. And yeah, so that's going to be the same video clip. We'll just roll on past that. Eric Swalwell himself, he says, Donald Trump is targeting me. He's trying to influence the election. There's only one reason why. It's because he's scared. And even links the Washington Post. Probably not going to read through all of this because I'm sure it's just a bunch of garbage trash, as Eric Swalwell decided to link this. Oh, look at that. It's not even going to let me read it anyway. No wonder the Washington Post is freaking failing because they don't let anybody read their articles unless you pay for it. But I ain't paying for it. But what I will do, I'll link that in the description. If you just so happen to be throwing money at the Washington Post, you can go check it out over there. And let's see. Let's follow that up with Maisie, who says, 2021, Eric Swalwell, I did not leak. We now know from declassified FBI interviews that Swalwell was warned to stop leaking classified information. Swalwell is a leader, a liar, and a traitor. He belongs in prison.
I don't want your viewers to think that I'm above the law.
Shit.
If I've done something wrong or if my colleagues have done something
sorry.
wrong, we should be surveilled if a warrant is issued. But here, in this
Last thing we
instance,
need
and even
is
with
a
Don
loud
McGahn,
Swalwell.
there was no connection to us and the leaks. I know that because I did not leak. I don't want your viewers to think that I'm above
Oh, the gaslighting. Oh, it stinks. Smells to high heaven, that gaslighting. All right. Speaker Mike Johnson. Democrats have now caused the longest shutdown in history. We're moving on past Swalwell. I guess we'll just see what happens. I'm imagining that more information might come out this week, or maybe it'll just come out in the coming weeks. Hopefully not months. Hopefully now that they're announcing these potential investigations or maybe even charges down the road at some point, although I highly doubt it, but let's just hope for the best. And I will keep an eye on Kash Patel's profile. I already looked at his profile for a direct quote or a statement from the FBI director, and he didn't say anything from his personal profile, at least not yet. So I'll keep an eye out on that. I'm assuming that he'll probably be dropping something maybe tomorrow or at some point this week with regards to that. And let's move on to the shutdown. Democrats have now caused the longest shutdown in history, refusing to fund Homeland Security and blocking paychecks for TSA agents, FEMA, Border Patrol, support staff, and other brave law enforcement. They keep leaving out Secret Service, man. Secret Service is under the Department of Homeland Security, right? Unless I misread that somewhere. But they were saying that pretty frequently in the opening days, the first few days of the shutdown. They were throwing out FEMA and TSA, the Coast Guard, and Secret Service, CISA, which is the cybersecurity agency or agencies. So anyway, all because they would rather reopen the border and protect criminal illegal aliens than keep Americans safe. The House has voted to fully fund DHS 4 times. But Chuck Schumer wants to pick and choose which law enforcement officers can get their paycheck. It's outrageous and unfair. Their reckless obsession with criminal illegal aliens hurts every American and puts our national security at risk. House GOP will continue to stand for law and order. So I'm happy to see that. It's good that he didn't just piggyback off of John Thune, who is the Senate Majority Leader, and Speaker Mike Johnson didn't just simply take that Senate bill and just try as hard as he could just to simply get it passed, and then they can move on. Whether if they're taking their own version of Easter break, I imagine that the House is also going to take some form of Easter break. The Senate, they already left on Friday. They're out for 2 weeks. And there's a lot of demand, including from a number of senators, obviously Republican senators, to bring the Senate back and get back to business immediately, as in today. All right, Gunther Eagleman, Trump is done with the BS. President Trump just demanded Rhino John Thune cancel these lazy senators' taxpayer-funded vacations and drag their butts back to D.C. right now to fully fund DHS and ICE.
So, again, the president has stepped in to do the right thing at this moment in time.
Oh, see, now it's
but
too
the
quiet.
president is also encouraging Congress to come back to Washington to permanently fix this problem and to fund and reopen the Department of Homeland Security entirely.
Caroline.
Stephen.
All right. Well, Caroline Leavitt, she's dressed quite lovely today. Senator Mike Lee, based Mike Lee from Utah. We have 2 options. Number 1, force a Democrat-talking filibuster, beat it, and pass Save America, full DHS funding, and other priorities. or number 2, nuke the filibuster and just pass everything. I prefer option 1, but inaction is unacceptable.
We have exactly 2 options. We can either, 1, start enforcing our rules as they're written and require filibustering senators to speak and exhaust them and stay on a bill that is critical to our agenda until it passes. Or if we're not willing to do that, because that involves hard work, we have to nuke the filibuster. Now, I would strongly prefer the first. I think it's better to do it with the rules that we've got, because the rules that we've got actually ensure and protect robust debate. But what we can't have is this hybrid. We can't try to walk a middle ground between those two, saying, yeah, we're going to stick with the filibuster, with the 60-vote cloture standard, and then not do the work to get to cloture. That is a problem. So we've got a choice to make. If we don't make one of those 2 choices, use the talking filibuster or nuke the filibuster, we're going to be in big trouble in November.
Yeah, for sure. And my position with the filibuster is that if we had assurances and if we just simply knew that Democrats had absolutely no interest in nuking the filibuster if or when they retake the Senate and the presidency, then I would just stand right alongside most of the other senators, Republican senators, and say, no, don't do anything with the filibuster. It really sucks. It really gridlocks the Senate, especially when we're hyper-polarized and split along party lines. I think that it's long-term, it seems to be a healthy system. I mean, there's a reason the filibuster's been there for as long as it has. Although, when you get Democrats that are repeatedly talking about nuking the filibuster themselves, or at least looking back into history when they actually did try to nuke the filibuster and they only had 2 Democrat senators that opposed it at the time, both of whom are not even there anymore. So that just goes to show what they plan on doing, most likely. If they get the Oval back and the Senate, then, if it wasn't for that, I would say just leave it alone. But at this point, I mean, it seems like it's going to get nuked one way or another. And that's what everybody else is saying. And we got this from Senator Rick Scott. Bring the Senate back, eliminate the filibuster, fund DHS, and pass the Save America Act. And I've got to follow up with, let's see, is it the next one? Yeah. I was going to say, I thought I had a video clip with Senator Rick Scott. Just in, Rick Scott drops a truth nuke on Leader Thune and Senate GOP leadership. The only way out of this DHS funding mess is for the Senate to come back to D.C. and eliminate the filibuster now. We already know where the Democrats stand, and it's not with the American people. It's time to fully fund DHS. We need to fight. Stop letting Chuck Schumer steamroll us.
The only way out of this is to go back to D.C., completely eliminate the filibuster, and start passing things with 51 votes. The Democrats have told us they do not care about the American public. They will not fund Homeland Security.
They don't care about protecting the filibuster either.
Is to go back to D.C.,
or keeping the Supreme Court
completely eliminate the
justices.
Filibuster, and start passing things with 51 votes. The Democrats have told us they do not care about the American public. They will not fund.
Sorry, I know I'm going back over it again. Whatever. But yeah, he's quite clear. It's very clear that they don't care. And I'm going to get to some content later on in this video that will show you how little Democrats really care about Americans. There's a lot to get through tonight. I think in total I've got like 61 or 62 posts. So this might go a little bit over 2 hours, but I'm going to try to keep it as tight as I can because I don't usually like going over 2 hours because it just, I don't want these videos to drag on too long. All right, anyway, Eric Daugherty breaking the U.S. Senate just gavelled out mere seconds after gaveling in, refusing to even try to pass the House bill funding DHS, ICE, and TSA. It's freaking ridiculous. Why didn't we even make Dems oppose this common sense clean bill from Speaker Johnson? Cancel the recess
Senator
now.
From the state of North Dakota to perform the duties of the chair. Signed, Chuck Grassley, President pro tempore.
Under the previous order, the Senate stands adjourned until 7 a.m. on Thursday, April 2nd, 2026.
Okay, till April 2nd. That's only a few days away.
There you have it. No deal. And
no deal.
The Senate is adjourned until Thursday. This continues, and they'll see if they can maybe, obviously, while they're on recess, there are ways to communicate. It's not that they're like just cooling it on a beach somewhere, unless you have pictures and then send them to me immediately.
Yeah, whatever, dude. You don't have to butter us up about all that. We all know they're on vacation. We all know they have no intention on doing anything for the next 2 weeks. Now, some of the senators do, like Rick Scott and Mike Lee and some of the others. It's just, there's just not nearly enough to really do anything. Certainly not enough to get anywhere probably near 51 votes. And look, like they've got enough senators to get to 51 votes on pretty much all of these things. I'm just talking about for the next couple of weeks. I don't think they're going to come back to D.C. I highly doubt it, and it's absolutely ridiculous because that just simply means that all of these all these agencies under the Department of Homeland Security, they're just not going to get funded for the next 2 weeks. They're just going to have to just keep going without a paycheck. But there is some very good news coming out of TSA, which we're going to get to in a minute. Brandon Gill, this is a really good perspective. I think that this was here. Hold on. Oh wait, no. All right, hold on. Maybe I'm thinking of a different post. Whatever. I'll just go on and read it. Bypassing the 60-vote cloture threshold in the Senate will not destroy the institution of the Senate, but you know what will? Taking a 2-week spring vacation while the Department of Homeland Security remains unfunded, protect the institution, bypass the filibuster, and on to the next. Dr. Roger Marshall. Democrats won't fund ICE or CBP, so Republicans have to take action. Without them, we will ensure the safety of Americans.
Unfortunately, the Democrats are never going to fund ICE or Border Patrol. So we have to do something.
Nope. They want to open the borders,
as my
give
colleagues
blanket amnesty to everybody.
I can't believe
put them on a path to citizenship.
7 Democrats to come across the aisle and vote in favor of our national security in a country with 50 million non-citizens in our country, some legal, some illegal. They won't fund Border Patrol. They won't fund ICE. So we have to do something. I think reconciliation process is probably the ticket to do it. And now that, the question is, for how long do we do it? Do we fund just ICE and Border Patrol, or do we fund all of DHS and just take Democrats out of the equation? Lastly, remember, the Democrats waited 30 days from the time DHS was shut down before they would even engage in talks, and the talks were never serious.
Yeah, as we already know, they're just using everybody as political pawns, the Democrats are. They'll do literally anything in order to try to seize and maintain power. And from Bill Milugan, we can confirm that at least some TSA agents have started getting paid as of this morning. Real Tom Homan says ICE agents will be staying at those airports until things are running smoothly again. Finally, some good news coming out of TSA.
Some TSA agents have started getting paid as of this morning. Our team down at Atlanta Airport just talked to a handful of those agents there. They confirmed they did get a paycheck today, though one agent did say his was about 30 hours short of what he had worked. But looking at the bigger picture here, as these airports start trying to get back on track, Border Czar Tom Homan says ICE agents will be staying at those airports until things are running smoothly again.
ICE is working with TSA.
We can confirm.
That's still good news that they're still there. They're still there trying to keep lines short at least 14 airports. I haven't heard any number higher than 14, going back to last Monday when they started trying to get the lines shorter in the 14 airports that they were assigned to. From Benny Johnson, TSA workers confirmed they've now started receiving back pay and have gotten their paychecks for the last 2 missed pay periods. This has brought an improved start to the week for travelers. This is all thanks to President Trump's executive order.
Finally, some back pay for all of those TSA workers.
Yeah, you're right, Nicole. And we definitely sense a lighter mood among the TSA workers. The actual pay, just the prospect of TSA pay, that has brought an improved start to the week for travelers across the country. We are hearing from these TSA workers that, yes, they have gotten their paychecks for the last 2 missed pay periods.
Yeah, definitely good news. And yes, Trump did sign an executive order. Well, I believe it was an emergency order, or he declared a state of emergency with regard to travel, TSA, and he was able to get TSA passed through that method. Libs of TikTok, Democrats are fuming that Trump is paying TSA agents and are desperate to stop it, claiming it's illegal. How dare they? Of course Democrats are doing this, and they're shooting themselves in the foot by doing this too. Play this clip on a loop in every airport in America until the elections. I wish we could. I mean, that would certainly be nice if this could be played in airports.
What did Democrats get out of this standoff?
Yeah, well, Margaret, the standoff is not done yet, right? The president is illegally paying, apparently, TSA agents. You had the Senate, as you pointed out with Mr. Homan, pass a bipartisan bill unanimously in the United States Senate to say, look, let's fund everybody else and let's deal with this thorny issue about ICE. And then you had the Republican House say, hell no, we're not doing that.
All right. Well, I mean, that wasn't really the bombshell I was expecting. But you already know that Democrats are absolutely going to be fuming about this, that TSA are getting paid, because they're just going to say, how dare he? How can you do this? This is illegal. You can't just take money that's not assigned for TSA and just start giving money to other agencies. All right, Glenn Beck. So this video, it's over 7 minutes. I'll just play like a minute or two of it. My intention was just to repost this after watching like a minute or so. I was also interested in what he had to say. So I'll just repost this. There's a direct link to my profile below in the description. You don't have to be signed into X or anything to view it. You can just click on it. It'll take you straight there, and you can watch this video there. Or if you do have an X account, or if you want to use the search feature, you can go to x.com and just search Glenn Beck. Just one word, and it'll take you there. You can watch it there also. All right, and he says, John Thune took a 2-week vacation knowing his DHS funding deal wouldn't pass the House. Thankfully, Trump can call the Senate back in on extraordinary occasions, like, I don't know, a war. So please, President Trump, invoke Article 2, Section 3, and get John Thune's ass back to D.C.
Now, you think that because Friday, when we last left this story, the funding, deal was made, right? A deal was made to fund TSA and DHS.
Hey, he's got a counter down there.
Else. No,
I had my Epic Fury counter
it wasn't.
for a little while.
And they knew it wasn't going to be.
I don't know. I kind of got bored with it.
And that's why John Thune, what up?
If you want it back, drop a comment.
Guy is. That's why he gets onto a plane and he is out. Friday morning, he is gone. He makes a deal in the middle of the night, knowing that the House is not going to accept this. When the House gets it, they're like, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. And what happened? Because he wanted to go home and get some sippy shapes. He's on a 2-week vacation now. They have stopped working in the Senate for 2 weeks. When is this going to end? When is enough enough? In Texas, the governor will call you in to special session all the time because Texas, they only meet every other year. Thank God. Why do you think Texas has some chance of making it? Because our politicians only work part-time every other year.
Oh, wow.
So these guys go on hiatus. They're gone.
Do they only get part-time wages?
A recess, like they're kindergartners. For 2 weeks, they go on recess. You know what? You don't get a recess if you don't do your job.
State-level politicians in Florida, they actually get paid surprisingly a
low
amount.
How many TSA workers?
Like
We want to talk about
30 grand a year.
compassion. How many people that the left always says, "Oh my gosh, we have to have compassion for the worker. What about the worker in the federal government? What about the poor worker who has nothing else and they're working and they're patriots. They're patriots in the government." How many times have you heard them lecture? They're patriots in the government. Well, where are you now when these patriots in the government can't feed their family?
Well, what about the government being overbloated?
How many people at the TSA have to go bankrupt?
What about downsizing?
Have to go massively in debt? Have to leave their job and go find another job just to feed their families?
Yeah.
How long is it going to take if they leave to find another job? How long is it going to take to find a replacement? Are you going to go work for the TSA knowing that you could just happen again at any time? You have no job stability whatsoever because the Senate's got to go on recess
Democrats.
like little babies. The president has the ability to call back into special session and convene the Senate in the Constitution. It's Article 2, Section 3, and he can do it on extraordinary occasion. Well, I don't know how you define extraordinary.
Yeah, but we're not technically in a war.
Let's see.
I mean, it's a conflict, but it's not a declared
war.
war.
With the number one terrorist state in the world. Millions have come in from...
But, dude, I don't really agree with his point of view here, because if he's going to call this special session to bring the Senate back in during recess, and he's going to do it under the guise of war with Iran, then the entirety of the topic would have to be just that, wouldn't it? I mean, I guess now that we're here, why don't we work to pass the Save America Act and get TSA and everybody else funded? However, if you're going to use the fact that we're in a conflict with Iran, then that would have to be the primary subject matter, wouldn't it?
God only knows where, and we don't know where they are. 1,500 terror cells came in from that terror state. We don't know where they are. Domestic terror is on the rise. The American people are shut up in airports, long lines. We have ICE doing that job, which means they can't go out and do
most airports
their
they're not
job.
at.
I don't know what extraordinary means is, but I think extraordinary occasions means like what we're going through right now.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with them there, that the fact that our Department of Homeland Security, the department that is tasked with keeping our nation secure and safe, and if we have agents that are supposed to be protecting Americans at our airports, for example, and if they're not getting paid, morale is going to hit the floor. People are going to call in sick. There's some airports where they were reporting almost 50% absences because they're calling in sick because they're just not getting paid, so they're using up their sick days. And I think I would call that extraordinary circumstances. The fact that our entire Department of Homeland Security is not getting funded. That's, I don't know, man. If that's not extraordinary circumstances, especially now that when he brings up, maybe that was his intention. He brought up the conflict in Iran, the number one state sponsor of terrorism, chanting death to America for the last 47 years. I think even sometime in the last year, if not the last 6 months or even a few months ago, it was released that the Ayatollah or Iran or the IRGC or whoever it was were attempting to assassinate President Trump. So with all of these things going on, hundreds of soldiers have been killed directly from Iran over the years. Tons of terrorist attacks have happened over the years. So when the one department that is supposed to be protecting us from them isn't getting any money right now, they're not getting funded, and they're being forced to work anyway, essentially being temporary slaves, essentially, financially, then yeah, I think that would probably qualify. I think Trump probably would be able to do that. I guess the question would be would the Senate actually oblige, though? Would they really show up if he invoked that section of the Constitution? I don't know. All right, so let's move on. DR145, or Dralone in DR145. Breaking, Mitch McConnell just voted yes to move forward with the Save America Act, and Susan Collins is right there with him. Even if it comes down to a 50-50 split, J.D. Vance can step in and break the tie. Do you support the Save America Act? Of course, he's just, click farming. So is that true? Look, grain of salt. This is the only place that I saw that today, even though I didn't go digging deep, trying to see exactly if this is 100% true or not. I'm just showing it because it came across my radar, and it got a pretty decent amount of views, 7,000 likes and so on. So, I don't think that that's wild news if he does eventually become a yes for the Save America Act. So anyway, hopefully that is the case. And from the White House, the United States of America is in serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran, said President Trump. And this is his post from earlier. The United States of America is in serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations. Great progress has been made, but if for any reason a deal is not shortly reached, which it probably will be, and if the Hormuz Strait is not immediately open for business, we will conclude our lovely stay in Iran by blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants and oil wells and Kharg Island, which is where 95% of Iran's oil supply is transferred out of, or at least at any given time, that's where 95% of their oil is contained. And possibly all desalination plants, which we have purposefully not yet touched. This will be in retribution for our many soldiers and others that Iran has butchered and killed over the old regime's 47-year reign of terror. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So we're going to start getting into the Iran conflict as it keeps moving forward. Caroline Levitt, Iran has been defeated. Any violence beyond this point will be because Iran refused to understand they have already been defeated. It's like punching a kid on the playground and telling them that if he retaliates, you'll tell the teacher he started it.
President's preference is always peace.
Obviously, he's not in 100%
need to be any more
agreement.
Death and destruction. But if Iran fails to accept the reality of the current moment, if they fail to understand that they have been defeated militarily and will continue to be, President Trump will ensure they are hit harder than they have ever been hit before. President Trump
over 10,000 targets so far.
He is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again. Their last miscalculation cost them their senior leadership, their Navy, their Air Force, and their air defense system. Any violence beyond this point will be because the Iranian regime refused to understand they have already been defeated and refused to come to a deal.
I mean, look, maybe knocking out their power grid, knocking out their desalination plants, knocking out their oil supply, maybe that would be enough for a full-on revolution to the point where the people may be able to overthrow the Ayatollah, the regime, the IRGC, and all the rest. I'm honestly not sure. I'm assuming that the Iranian regime is very well armed and the people in Iran may not be so well armed. However, how many people are in Iran? 90 million people. And they have like 1.2 or 1.3 million people in their military, including the reserves. So I'm not sure from a practical standpoint if it would be so simple. But look, if they have no power, if they have no means to desalinate the water to increase their water supply, I mean, they may be capable of it. I don't think that. I know that Cuba, they've been dealing with nationwide blackouts pretty consistently because now they don't have Venezuelan oil, and there's diplomatic movement being made with that. I would assume, though, if they have to go prolonged periods of time without electricity, I mean, the people are there. Something's going to give, man. People are they're just going to find themselves in a situation where, look, we literally have nothing to lose now. We got to get rid of this government, and maybe the people will find it in their hearts to finally overthrow the Castro regime or the Cuban regime. I don't know. Hopefully we'll see. Breaks news just in. President Trump says Iran is going to do everything we want them to do. If they don't do that, they're not going to have a country.
They are decimated right now. They're going to give up nuclear weapons. They're going to give us the nuclear dust. They're going to do everything that we want to do.
I thought they didn't have any yet.
What? They're going to
they were still working on
it.
Maybe they'll give up the prospect of nuclear weapons.
But if they don't do that, they're not going to have a country. They're not even going to have a country. They are decimated.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Trump keeps saying. He keeps saying that they're getting obliterated militarily. We've been hitting them with laser precision, taking out over 10,000 targets, as Central Command has been reporting. I would only imagine that it's probably substantially higher than that if they've been consistently hitting them day after day, which I'm sure they are. So the real number is probably, like 12,000, maybe even more than that. All right, so this is U.S. Central Command's official profile, and it looks like the last update that they gave was March 28th, at least on their X account. So the overview, it says that 11,000 plus targets have been struck. So that was as of a couple days ago. Combat flights are over 11,000 as well. Iranian vessels damaged or destroyed is up over 150. So they're still taking out a lot day by day, hundreds of targets a day, it appears. And we got this from the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Trump says a deal will probably be reached soon with new and more reasonable Iran regime. Great progress has been made. So this is from the New York Post. So maybe they'll have a little bit of more info here in this article. President Trump said Monday that a deal with Iran was probably close to winding down the conflict, but warned the U.S. would obliterate the regime's power plants, oil wells, and its main export hub, Kharg Island, if negotiations fell through. Trump noted, however, that a deal was probably close. The United States of America is in serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime, which we already read in his True Social post, and that's also from his True Social. Trump said the U.S. purposefully hadn't touched the sites after previously given an April 6th deadline to Iran. This will be in retribution for our many soldiers and others Iran has butchered and killed over the 47 years. The renewed threat came just hours after Trump said late Sunday that the U.S. was negotiating directly and indirectly with Iran. He flagged the possibility, too, of taking Iran's oil, a move that would require seizing Kharg Island, a terminal through which nearly all of Iran's oil exports pass. And that would be why you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. Maybe we take Kharg Island, maybe we don't, Trump told the Financial Times, noting that any U.S. presence would also mean we had to be in there for a while. We have a lot of options, he said, boasting that the U.S. could easily take the island. I mean, I don't know, man. From what I've read, they've booby-trapped the island. There's IRGC forces on the island, and apparently that they have militarily secured it to the point where it wouldn't be just as easy as just simply landing and declaring it ours. Apparently, it would be a pretty tough fought battle, at least from what I read. I mean, what do I know? I'm not in the military. I'm not privy to any intelligence. Trump added that the U.S. had about 3,000 targets it would still like to hit in Iran after having bombed 13,000 targets since February 28th. Well, according to Central Command a couple days ago, as we just saw, it's 11,000. New York Post, not 13, but maybe they know something I don't. Maybe they did give out a statement that I didn't catch today that said that they're up to 13. I mean, I guess that's a distinct possibility. But insisted a deal could be made fairly quickly. The president gave Tehran a 10-day deadline to reopen the Strait of Hormuz after its closure caused oil prices spike as much as 50%. Tehran allowed 10 Pakistan-flagged oil tankers through the strait last week as a present to the White House, Trump said in his Financial Times interview, but it has since allowed 10 more, bringing the total number exiting the bottleneck channel to 20. On Friday, 3,500 U.S. Marines and sailors also arrived in the Middle East on the USS Tripoli amid a broader Pentagon order to deploy 10,000 troops to the region. Trump has said the forces could be dispatched to secure the strait as well as Iranian nuclear facilities. And we're going to get to some extra info on that in a minute. There are apparently Marines that are getting letters indicating that they are about to be deployed, apparently. And I have that letter that we're going to check out. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also said on ABC News Good Morning America Monday, they are making threats about controlling the Hormuz Strait in perpetuity, creating a tolling system and the like. That's not going to be allowed to happen. Over time, the U.S. is going to retake control of the straits, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told on Fox News, and there will be freedom of navigation, whether it is through U.S. escorts or a multinational escort. Rubio emphasized that the U.S. was going to achieve our objectives in a matter of weeks, not months. The Trump administration has engaged in mediated talks with Iran and has seen its hardline parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, as a potentially useful negotiating partner. He's the one who authorized the ships to meet, Trump revealed to the Financial Times. Remember, I said they're giving me a present, and everyone said, what's the present? Bullshit! When they heard about that, they kept their mouths shut, and the negotiations are going very well. But Ghalibaf publicly denounced the U.S. on Monday, according to Iran state media outlet IRNA, saying the enemy openly sends messages of negotiation and dialogue, but secretly is planning a ground attack. I don't know. And this image, destruction was seen near the offices of the Doha-headquartered news network Al Arabi TV following a missile strike in Tehran on March 29th. So, there you go. Still hitting the area. Ghalibaf threatened that the U.S. and that its officials were unaware that our men are waiting for American soldiers to enter on the ground so they can set them ablaze and punish their regional partners forever. Officials in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan have primarily mediated talks with the U.S. Foreign ministers from each nation met in Islamabad on Sunday. Look, I don't know about, setting them ablaze and all that. We've got satellites all over the place. We've got assets on the ground, I'm sure. That's basically what the CIA does. I'm sure that we've got a lot more than intelligence than they think that we have. On Monday, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi pleaded with Trump to help us stop this war. I speak to you on behalf of myself, humanity, and lovers of peace, and you, Mr. President, are a lover of peace, el-Sisi said during an international energy conference in Cairo, according to the New York Times. All right, so that's the latest. And yeah, I was glad that I went through that because there was some info in there I didn't know about. And this is the letter that I'm talking about from Ethan Levins. He says, American Marines are being told to prepare for combat. And it says, prepare your family. And this is how it reads. Marines. Oh, this is dated March 26th, by the way. So this is a few days ago. And this is from Leonard F. Anderson IV, Lieutenant General, U.S. Marine Corps, Commander, Marine Forces Reserve and Marine Forces South. And he says, Marines, our nation is in a consequential moment. Global events are shaping our nation's security, and we must be ready. I ask you directly, are you ready? Ready to deploy, fight, and win? Are your skills sharp, your standards high, and your gear prepared for immediate movement? Is your desert MARPA-T or M-A-R-P-A-T readily available? Is your gear packed and ready to pack up and move, or is it stored away in a corner of your home? Are your family's affairs in order? When the call comes, readiness will be assumed, not questioned. Your readiness is not a declaration, it is a daily commitment. This is not a theoretical exercise. Our forces are currently engaged in operations connected to Iran and are positioned to preserve stability in the Western Hemisphere. Our enemies get a vote, and a mass mobilization could become reality. We are operating in this environment now. History demands our readiness today, tomorrow, and every day. Your preparation for combat is forged in your daily actions, your training, and the seriousness with which you handle every responsibility. We are measured not by our intentions, but by what we can do right now. Check your readiness, tighten your standards, prepare your family. Our nation expects a disciplined, capable force ready for immediate action. That force is Marine Forces Reserve. That standard begins with and must be held by you. Fights on. So that was released to the Marines, at least a number of them, if not most, maybe if not all of them, on March 26th. And of course, that was shared by Ethan Levins. Rapid Response 47, Secretary Rubio reiterates the objectives in Iran. And rather than reading the quote, we'll just hear the video. I've actually got, I think, 5 or 6 of these quick clips of Secretary Rubio when he was on ABC News today.
operation, okay, and that's what this is. It's about very specific objectives. The president laid them out on the first night of the operation. I'll repeat them to you now because I hear a lot of talk about we don't know what the clear objectives are. Here they are. You should write them down. Number one, the destruction of their Air Force.
Y'all
Number
keep
two,
asking.
the destruction of their Navy. Number three, the severe diminishing of their missile launching capability. And number four, the destruction of their factories so they can't make more missiles and more drones to threaten us in the future. All of this so that they can never hide behind it to acquire a nuclear weapon. That was our objective from the beginning. That remains our objective now. We are on pace and, in fact, ahead of schedule on some of those things, and we are going to achieve those things in a number of weeks, not in a number of months.
Yeah, he's only had to repeat these objectives a freaking 1,000 times to the press because they keep asking him. They're like, well, what does the Trump administration plan on doing now? And he's like, dude, I've told y'all so many freaking times. Secretary Rubio on Iran, we are going to achieve our objectives in a matter of weeks, not months.
First of all, it's important to remember the objectives of this operation from the very beginning. We are destroying Iran's Navy. We are destroying their ability to their missile launchers by a significant percentage. We're going to wipe out their defense industrial base, meaning their ability to make new missiles and new drones in the future.
Yikes.
Because it poses a great threat to the region. This Iran that you're seeing now, this is Iran at its weakest point. Imagine them 2 years from now if they had thousands of more missiles, thousands of more missile launchers and factories to make even more. That was an unacceptable risk. It needed to be addressed, and President Trump is addressing it. Now, they are making threats about controlling the Hormuz Straits in perpetuity, creating a tolling system and the like. That's not going to be allowed to happen. And the president has a number of options available to him if he so chooses to prevent that from happening. Obviously, I'm not going to discuss what those options are, and we're not going to discuss military tactics. The Department of War would be in charge of those things. I'd refer you to them, but obviously they're not going to discuss it with you either. But there is a way forward here to achieve our objectives. We are going to achieve our objectives in a matter of weeks, not months.
Matter of weeks. You heard it. Matter of weeks, not months. This isn't going to be some 20-year conflict like we saw in Afghanistan. Secretary Rubio, look at this region. Every single terrorist group in this region has a link to the Iranian regime. Every single one.
Well, I think the first point the president makes is he prefers diplomacy. As I said, those efforts are nascent. There is messages being relayed back and forth, some conversations going on, including through intermediaries, and he always prefers that. Look, if the Iranian regime had come forward at any point in the past and said, we're going to walk away from our nuclear ambitions, we're going to do nuclear energy the way every other country in the world, primarily, almost every other country in the world does it, and that is through a peaceful means in which you bring in the fuel and it's supervised and so forth. We're going to stop supporting terrorist groups across the region. Look at this region. Every single terrorist group in this region has a link to the Iranian regime. Every single one. The Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Shia militias that are attacking everyone out of Iraq. Every single one of these groups and all the destabilization in this region tracks directly back to the Iranian regime. Those things have to be addressed.
And if sponsor of terrorism,
number one. In the past, we wouldn't be having this interview on this topic right now. Their refusal to do so and their continuing move towards one day acquiring a nuclear capability, these people are lunatics. They are insane. They are religious zealots who can never be allowed to possess a nuclear weapon because they have an apocalyptic vision of the future. And all of their neighbors know that, by the way, which is why all of their neighbors have been supportive of the efforts we're conducting.
Well, and of course, there was a resolution that went on, I believe it was on the House floor, where they voted if you agree that Iran is the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, and it was something like 52 or 55, 58 Democrats voted no. It's like, okay, well, if it's not Iran, then who is it? And there's just a number of Democrats that just, no matter what the Republicans do, no matter what Trump's stance is on anything and everything, they just take a hard opposite direction, no matter what it is. And we got this from the Department of State, which Secretary Rubio is the Secretary of State. If NATO is just about us defending Europe, if they're attacked, but them denying us basic rights when we need them, then that's not a very good arrangement. That's a hard one to stay engaged in and say this is good for the United States.
And I've been
this
a
is on Al
supporter
Jazeera.
of NATO. And one of the reasons why I've been a supporter of NATO is because I believe that these basing rights give us leverage and give us flexibility and operational capability all over the world. But if NATO is just about us defending Europe if they're attacked, but them denying us basing rights when we need them, that's not a very good arrangement. That's a hard one to stay engaged in and say this is good for the United States. So all of them's going to have to be re-examined. All of it's going to have to be re-examined.
And look, when was it, under Biden? I think it was under Biden that the president can't decouple the United States from NATO, that it has to be through an act of Congress or something like that. I may have misread that, but I think I got that right. Eric Doherty breaking: Secretary Marco Rubio just eviscerated Spain's leftist government for denying the United States military their airspace, then boasting about it. So, yeah, and Spain came out recently because Trump said that we're just going to start jacking up tariffs against Spain. If they want to play hardball, then let's go after them economically. And then Spain immediately walked back and said, okay, fine, you can use our bases. And as far as my understanding went, we have been using the bases in Spain for refueling or whatever it is that we need them for, because they're not as far away from Iran as, say, the UK, which we're using in the meantime. But apparently this just happened, that Spain closed their entire nation's airspace to the American military. So there you go.
I think it was very disappointing. You have this, and again, look, the president and our country will have to re-examine all of this after this operation is over. But one of the reasons why NATO is beneficial to the United States is it gives us basing rights for contingencies. It allows us to station troops and aircraft and weapons and
it's a decent location.
In parts of the world that we wouldn't normally have bases, and that includes in much of Europe. And to see that in a time of need, the United States has identified a grave risk to our national security and our national interests, and we needed to conduct this operation. And we have countries like Spain, a NATO member, that we are pledged to defend,
a NATO
denying
member.
us the use of their airspace and bragging about it, denying us the use of their bases. And there
Cut
are
'em
other
off.
countries that have done that as well. And so you ask yourself, well, what is in it for the United States?
Yeah, what is in it for the United States? And plus, by the way, Spain, they're farther behind in their NATO dues than any other country, whether that's coincidence or irony. Both, whatever the case is, but they are. It's in the billions. I don't know if it's like tens of billions, but they're billions of dollars behind in their dues. I guess over the last couple of years, they've been current year over year with the amount of dues that they owe to NATO. And I don't know, man. Like historically, they're pretty far behind, more than any other country. I just find that just a little, suspect, little sus to say the least. I think maybe we should start thinking about cutting Spain out of NATO, but you already know that's not going to happen. I mean, especially with, I'm assuming that you would need a vote in NATO for something like that to happen, and I really doubt that Europe is going to vote that. Secretary Rubio, it's disappointing to see that in a time of need for the United States, we have countries like Spain, a NATO member, that are pledged to defend, denying us the use of their airspace and bragging about it. Is that possible that we already saw that? Hold on, let me just take a look. Department of State, Eric Doherty, Department of State. Oh, yeah, so it may have been this one. 46, yeah, that's going to be the same clip, so I'll just move on. Soleiman Ahmed says, just in, Tehran under heavy strikes. Now, before I play this, let me just double check to see if this is real, because I believe I did ask Grok this. Is this a real video or an AI video? And it says it looks real. Ongoing U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iranian targets, including Tehran areas, are confirmed by multiple sources tonight. BBC verified geolocated black smoke near Maribad Airport. ISW reports RT and Al Jazeera coverage of recent waves. The shaky nighttime explosion footage matches amateur clips from the conflict, and there's no clear AI signs. So let's have a look. Good grief, man. Freaking 4th of July. But in hell. Yeah, so I just kind of had some suspicions that I don't know, it kind of had a little bit of an AI feel to it, but just the number of explosions happening that quickly. But anyway, it appears to be authentic. Mohammed Safa, the United States has just bombed Iran power plants, leaving hospitals and homes without electricity for millions of people. Thinking about dialysis patients, babies in NICU, and others. People will die. Innocent children will die. This is a crime against humanity. So it looks like it's only 4 seconds. Okay, well, there's nothing here. Oh, okay, I get what they're showing. They're showing the lack of power. Although, this could be out in the countryside. I mean, I don't see how this just definitively proves. Okay, yeah, I can kind of see a little bit of city lights here. All right, so yeah, it does look like that this area is experiencing a brownout at the minimum. All right, but was that through U.S. forces? Could it have been Israelis? Maybe it was just, I don't know, something went wrong with the power grid, as they do sometimes. And every once in a while, my neighborhood loses power, and I live in America, and I'm sure we have the strongest power grid on Earth. We still lose power from time to time. But look, like, if there's smoke, there's most likely fire. So maybe we did hit something. But anyway, Mir Mohammed Ali Khan. Israel attacked a power plant in Tehran. Iran retaliated and destroyed the biggest clean water plant in Israel. Not sure if that's true or not. But... Well, that's a big explosion. Good Lord, man. All right. Well, apparently that's coming out of Israel, supposedly. And let me see if I asked, because I did ask Grok for a couple of confirmations. This might have been one of them. Let's see. Grok, did Iran successfully attack this water plant in Israel? Okay, so somebody else asked. Okay, so here you go. No, credible reports do not confirm Iran successfully attacked or destroyed Iran's largest clean water desalination plant, like Sorek. Israel struck Iranian power plants and nuclear sites, including the Arak heavy water facility. So there you go. It wasn't U.S. forces, it was Israel. Israel were the ones that took out the power plants, not the U.S., at least according to Grok. Iran retaliated with missiles hitting a chemical plant near Beersheba. Fires have been reported, but no major damage to Israeli water infrastructure per multiple sources. The video shows unverified nighttime explosion footage, and the location is unclear. So there we go. And I think I've got another couple of clips going on out there. Mario Nawfal, the Pentagon used an untested missile in combat, and it hits a girls' volleyball practice in Iran. So the Central Command says that they're aware of the reports and they're looking into them. So whether that actually happened, not sure. And this is coming out of the New York Times, as Trump would put it, the failing New York Times. So if the mainstream media are accusing the military of it, not to be a broken record with the whole grain of salt thing, but you kind of get it. Anyway, the New York Times confirmed that a precision strike missile, a weapon that only finished prototype testing last year, struck a sports hall and elementary school in Lamerd on the first day of the war. Okay, so they're still talking about the girls' school that was hit on day one. Okay, my bad. I should have read this more closely when I first came across it. At first glance, I thought that this just happened, like in the last day or so. But no, so they're still talking about that girls' school, which it's still kind of up in the air. CENTCOM didn't confirm if the United States did it or if Israel did it. There were rumors that an Iranian missile had malfunctioned after it left the ground and it just simply fell onto a school. And there were video clips out there showing in Iran, or a missile that appeared to be in Iran, or at least in the vicinity of Iran. Somebody took a video from the ground and it appeared that a missile had just suddenly stopped and started falling. You could see by the smoke trail how it was moving, and then all of a sudden it just started, spinning or whatever as it started plunging down toward the ground, and it struck a building. The video didn't confirm exactly what it hit. It just looked like a malfunctioned missile, and they were pointing to that being the culprit for that girls' school getting hit. So anyway, the PRSM is designed to detonate mid-air and blast tungsten pellets outward. Aftermath photos show the playground peppered with fragmentation holes. The IRGC compound next door has been walled off from the school for at least 15 years. CENTCOM's response is, we're aware of the reports and we're looking into them. That was the same day a tomahawk hit a school in Minab, killing 175 people. 2 schools on day one struck by a cruise missile, the other by a weapon so new the military was publicly celebrating its combat debut days later. Whether it was a targeting failure, a design flaw, or deliberate, the result is the same. Children died during volleyball practice from a weapon America had never fired in anger before. The source is, again, the New York Times, so not going to take that as the gospel truth, although that's what's being put out. And let's have a look. School, sports hall, so the hole from the explosion. All right. And so the intelligence office, maybe that if it did come from the U.S. or Israel, maybe that was what they were going after, was this intelligence office, the compounds that are separated by walls, and an IRGC compound. But isn't it interesting how the Iranian regime, how they place children's schools so close to these military compounds? And it's, I'm assuming, in hopes or in expectation that we won't hit that compound, because they know we have a soft spot for children and we don't use children for bait. We don't hide behind children like fucking cowards, which is what the IRGC does. And this is a perfect example. That's the proof. The proof is that they have children in schools right next to their freaking compounds. And I'm sure the same goes with hospitals and all these other civilian facilities, probably surrounding all of these just different military compounds. So not sure what this is. Okay. So the blast allegedly from or hitting the school on February 28th. Okay. So was that it? Yeah, it looked like that might have been it. Yeah. Okay. So it's just basically repeating. Here's another one. Oh, my bad. Yeah, just what appears to be footage inside the school. All right, and that's it. Just those two clips and that image, the map. Yeah, that's it. And not familiar with this. This is like way back on March 22nd. AI decided an Iranian girls' school was a military target rather than IRGC base nearby. Over 150 children were killed, and now the U.S. Central Command said it will make Palantir's AI systems, which were used in that strike, a core part of the U.S. military operations. The future that sci-fi warned us about is here. Again, not even sure if that's even true or not. That's not coming out of Central Command. That's just coming out of the mainstream news, or often as they're referred to as the fake news. So I'm not sure if these missiles are being controlled by AI. Although I know that the military, the Pentagon, U.S. government, they've been pretty clear that they want to be integrating AI into our weapon system, which I think is a horrible idea. I think it's a ridiculous idea. You don't want to give freaking... It's like, dude, did you not ever see The Terminator? I mean, like Hollywood, they have a tendency to try to foreshadow the future to us and show us what they envision the future to be for all of us. That's why the future is always dystopic as all hell in these Hollywood movies. So, when you start throwing artificial intelligence into our military, you start getting Skynet vibes. All right, Iran Observer, breaking: an Iranian missile has just struck Israel's crucial Rotem chemicals plant. Okay, so Grok confirmed, not that Grok is 100% correct all the time, but as we just read a minute ago, this apparently is that chemical plant, not nuclear, chemical plant. The plant produces sapphire domes for defense missiles and also helps Israel's nuclear weapons program. So I guess I was kind of half right when I accidentally said nuclear. Holy shit, man. That don't sound good. Oh man, a lot of spraying, a lot of flames. I don't even know how you go about fighting something like that. I just try to cut off the valves wherever that steam sound was coming from. Definitely don't envy anybody's job who has to go out and fight that blaze. And from JV Nior, don't even know how to pronounce that, but breaking: Iran just completely destroyed Israeli port of Eilat just moments ago. Israel will not make a comeback after this. And was this legit? I'm not sure. Okay, so they're saying that he's a liar. This is from September of last year. And okay, so yeah, so other people are saying that this account just consistently lies. So yeah, I didn't have a moment to be able to read, but I'll play it. But just know, this isn't misinformation, YouTube. This is just, like, we've already cleared that up. This is allegedly from 2025. I'm not even for sure that it was even then. I mean, for all we know, this wasn't even in Iran. This could have been, God knows where. We're just watching an explosion happening somewhere. All right, whatever. We're going to move on from that. We'll move on to the next post. Breaking: Iranian missiles set the sky ablaze over Tel Aviv tonight. When was this? This was March 29th, so yesterday at 4:51 p.m. And I know Israel, what are they, like 8 hours ahead of Eastern time, something like that. So I did ask the same question again to Grok: are these images real? No. See, I had my suspicions. I just didn't think that looked fully legit. Like the entire skies of Tel Aviv's on fire tonight. No, the image in that post is not a genuine depiction of events over Tel Aviv on March 29th, 30th. It shows exaggerated, large-scale ground fires and smoke plumes that don't match verified reports. Iran has concluded missile strikes on Israel, including Tel Aviv area impacts with cluster munitions causing fires from debris. 1 death and injuries on March 28th, but no confirmed massive sky ablaze scenes like this tonight. The image is likely AI generated, recycled, or misrepresented for sensationalism. Check IDF or Reuters for real updates. And it's actually a good tip. I'm not, honestly, I don't even think that I even follow IDF. I just stick to, our side of the world and our government accounts. But maybe I should bring them into the fold and see what they might be reporting on, because I kind of hesitate showing these video clips because YouTube doesn't like misinformation. I've already been struck once for that. However, the video that they hit me for and took down my entire 2-hour video as a result, it was not misinformation. It was an actual real event that happened. I believe it was in Jordan or no, it wasn't. It was in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi was bombed like on the 28th of February or the 1st of March. And I showed a video of the bombing and it was flagged for misinformation. I appealed it and they took it off because it wasn't misinformation. It was an actual legit real video that even the news was reporting. And they were even showing the video clips on mainstream news. So yeah, so I try to be careful. And that's why that I'll often ask just that really basic, simple question, Grok, are these images real? Because Grok tends to cite sources when it is real, as we already saw. Like they'll say like ABC News or Fox News, Reuters, or it might even sometimes reference government sources also if they've got the reporting on it. Okay. Rock and roll. Let's go to the next one. Live now. People of Israel on the streets. Okay, so it's the same asshole that's probably, full of shit. So I can only imagine, now that we know that last video was a bunch of BS, this one's probably the same. It got a lot of attention, got a lot of likes, and not so many. Okay, so this is footage outside of Israel's lands. Nothing of Israeli surrounding or authenticity. This is likely Germany. Really? This is Germany, huh? Well, I'll take just a second of this. Okay, I don't know. I came across it, said that Israel was, people are getting sick of having to live in their bunkers or whatever. It didn't sound out of the realm of impossible that people were starting to freak out. But I really highly doubt, though, now that I'm thinking about it, that Israelis are going to take to the streets because they've had enough. They've had enough of living in their bunkers and they just want all this to be over. I just somehow doubt that. I think that they would very much more to not have to deal with the Iranian regime ever having to threaten them ever again. I think they would certainly they would weather out the bunkers for months on end if that's what it takes, if that's the end that they end up getting. Megatron new. What did Iranian engineers do? Crazy videos of Iranian missiles easily evading Israeli interceptors. Did I ask the same question? Take this post, the missiles, swap the countries of origin, fix. Yeah, I mean, look, that was just my own opinion because when you watch this, look, the title suggests that the missiles that are behaving very strangely are Iranian missiles, and it's not the Israeli missiles that seem to be as technologically advanced. So let's have a look at this. Again, this could very well be fake. So yeah, like taking a sharp turn. I don't know. It doesn't look fake. I'm not sure how they can distinguish definitively. Well, I suppose the direction that they're coming from would indicate whether if it's an Iranian missile or not. But anyway, Roger, let's see, to defend the homeland. Okay. It still doesn't change the fact that Israel is deep inside Iranian airspace, hitting whatever they want when Iran could barely scratch Tel Aviv. That's improvement in their military might, but Iran is still losing the war badly. I mean, that's a fair assessment. Missile flight straight, internet, it's evading with advanced maneuvers. Yeah, that is true. I mean, yeah, somebody looks at it and they're like, oh my God, like these missiles are just like, they're straight out of like the 25th century, it seems. They're just making all these crazy moves when in reality, if somebody who's just been living there and watching this happening day after day, they're probably like, dude, there's like nothing out of the ordinary for these missiles. This is just how they've been behaving for like years at this point. Welcome to the 21st century. We've only been here for a quarter of a century already. All right, Ankit Mayanak. Breaking, Iran sent the most chilling warning to Trump and Netanyahu. Iran will now start bombing the residences of U.S. and Israeli officials and politicians in the region. I wasn't aware that we had politicians. I know we have diplomats. We've got like ambassadors and whatnot. Maybe that's what they were talking about. Things are escalating at light speed now. Well, look, dude, this dude's peddling propaganda on a daily basis. I'm sure the people in Iran, they're having to deal with this and sit and watch this on state TV all day long. You know, of course, they're not going to say, we're getting decimated. 11,000 of our targets have been wiped out so far. They're not going to be saying all that. They're not going to be throwing that out. They're of course, you know, even if a country is losing a war, they're not going to directly tell the people, holy shit, we're losing. Oh my God, what are we going to do?
با توجه به شرارت‌ها و اقدامات تروریستی دشمنان آمریکایی صهیونیستی و هدف قرار دادن منازل مسکونی مردم ایران در شهرهای
He looks pissed, but he doesn't sound pissed. Very monotone. Not a very threatening accent.
محل سکونت فرماندهان و مسئولان سیاسی آمریکا و رژیم صهیونیستی در منطقه و سرزمین‌های اشغالی را هدف قرار خواهند داد و من نصر الا من عند الله العزیز الحکیم.
Now the Germans, on the other hand, they sound pissed off in their accents. You know, if they're talking in a serious tone, I don't know, it's just something in the language, man. It has nothing to do with, my opinion has nothing to do with, like, you know, 20th century, whatever, you know, like what happened back in the day. No, it's just the accent in general. They're the same with the Russians. You know, like whenever you hear like a Russian talk with any degree of seriousness, I mean, they always sound really pissed off. But yeah, like this dude, maybe it's just unique to him. Maybe there's other people who have a much more convincing tone in their voice who speak Farsi, but I don't know, man. They don't sound all that threatening. La, 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 la. Just like one monotone, just all the way through. Whatever. All right, Megatron knew Iran dedicated one of its missiles to Jesus Christ in revenge for all Christ's suffering. I saw this from a few different sources today. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but at least we'll get an idea of it. I'm going to repost it right now in case you do want to watch all of it. And let's see where it goes. I haven't watched it yet, so. All right, hold on. Let me try to clean that up a little bit. What does it say? When the angels told Mary, God has chosen you, purified you, and given you a distinction over all women in revenge for all Christ's suffering. Very well could be AI. It's probably AI. You know, Iran, the regime, they've been putting out a lot of AI trash, a lot of AI garbage out there lately. But maybe it's not. Maybe they actually did launch this thing. When the band of Trump are destroying American, there's no need for our missiles, with 2 L's, to reach us, one word, reach us, territory. Okay. I guess they're at least trying. They're trying the whole English thing. Matter of fact, NASA's going to be doing that here in a couple days. Artemis 2, man. Artemis 2. They're heading up to the moon day after tomorrow. If all goes well. And the reason I said I wouldn't play the whole thing because I skipped through it and it just looks like it's just a bunch of just footage of rockets launching. So whether if this rocket has all those words on it, it doesn't look like the same rocket to me. I mean, it's the same color, but it doesn't look like, you know, like a fat, stumpy missile. All right. Red Wave Press, shocking President Trump on the White House ballroom. So yeah, so this came out, and this has already been in speculation for months, ever since they announced the ballroom. Somebody did point out that the location, what was it, the East Wing, I think it was, underneath the East Wing is the Situation Room or the bunker or whatever you call it, like the like where they go and they handle business militarily, the president. And that was located underneath where the current ballroom is being built. And apparently they've been building a much larger facility underground beneath the ballroom, essentially remodeling it, which that was already in the media, like I said, for months at this point. But it looks like President Trump has confirmed it. So let's hear this from President Trump.
Now the military is building a big complex under the ballroom, which has come out recently because of a stupid lawsuit that was filed. But the military is building a massive complex under the ballroom, and that's
well, with all due respect, President Trump, I mean, the American people, they do deserve to know where their tax money is going.
The construction, and we're doing very well. So we're ahead of schedule. That's part of it.
But on the other hand, tell that to the CIA.
The ballroom essentially becomes a shed for what's being built under the military, including from drones and including from any other thing. The glass on the windows, you see the big windows. The glass is extremely thick. It's high-grade bulletproof glass, so all of the windows are bulletproof. I think the Times wrote, gee, some of the windows are fake. We have no fake windows. They talked about a stairway in the South. We don't have a stairway in the South. That was replaced a long time ago. But this is...
All right, well, there you go. He's bringing us up to speed on that. And are we going to be able to see what that looks like? Maybe like the main Situation Room. I'm sure we'll see photos of that at some point when it's completed. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of below ground that it's going to be classified. And Eric Doherty, holy smokes, the Iranian woman goes berserk on a smug white liberal who is supporting the Islamic regime. So in case you didn't know, and if you didn't see, if you weren't paying attention to current affairs over the weekend, there was another No Kings protest. The left is celebrating that thousands of towns and cities across America had engaged in another No Kings protest. Up to 8 million people had turned out for it. And I almost didn't even bring it up because, like it happened over the weekend, what the hell ever. And there was a lot of money that was put behind this. And I'm talking hundreds of millions of dollars. And according to someone that we're going to get to in a moment, they've got the receipts. So in the meantime, this happened during that No Kings protest. An Iranian woman goes berserk on a smug white liberal woman who is supporting the Islamic regime. Oh, wait, no, I don't know if it's a woman or not. It might be, I don't know, you don't want to misgender him. Convince me of what? The R of women not having rights? I'm Iranian. I've been imprisoned by that regime. So let's hear what she says.
She's right. Iranians are asking for the
See what I mean? Don't want to misgender.
Oh, they are. I'm a journalist. I'm in contact with Iranian youth who are asking to be bombed. And you are standing here supporting a terrorist regime. What are you doing supporting a terrorist regime? Why are you supporting a terrorist regime? I understand bombing is bad. Convince me of what? Of rape? Of women not having no rights? I'm Iranian. I've been imprisoned by that regime. This has got nothing
Brain
to
dead.
do with Palestine. This is about a terrorist regime in my country.
Yes, it is.
I can't even go to see my father's grave. I left as a
Stop
refugee.
bombing Iran. You gotta be fucking kidding, man.
You should think about it.
Retarded. Absolutely retarded. Like you almost saw like the blue screen of death in her eyes just for that fleeting moment that, oh wow, maybe I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Maybe I should be doing something better with my life instead of just going out and participating in all this nonsense. Eric Doherty again, just in. The No Kings protesters are being called out as massive hypocrites after waving communist flags in New York City. It's like you can't make this shit up. They don't like kings, but they like straight up dictators. The dumbest political movement of our lifetime. And we've got more.
That the Trump administration is asking $200 million to fight, right? It's absurd. They have to attack the working class. There's no other way. But when it comes to like planning,
Look, man, old Chinese dude back there, if he's Chinese, maybe he gets a pass because maybe he's from China. So, maybe that dude's okay. He's good. Not that they should be flying all this bullshit in the U.S. But yeah, people are just absolutely just brain broken. They're brain dead. All right, Christian Heinies. Anyway, you want to murder 300,000 of your own people, start a 3-way civil war, declare war on 9 different nations at the same time, and then install an emperor. Perhaps I should have started with this. So this not to misgender, but this whatever. They want 1939 Germany. Let's give them 1789 France. And Art Candy says, spotted at a No Kings protest in Durham, North Carolina. Epic creativity. And then, of course, as I should have read this from the start, starting a 3-way civil war, declaring war on 9 different nations at the same time, installing an emperor, and so on and so forth. But anyway, that came across the feed today. Nick Sordor, this is incredible. A No Kings protester got super angry and ran away when a reporter mentioned Kamala Harris didn't receive a single vote in the Democrat primary, but she was installed anyway. Yeah, and they want to chant No Kings protest. Now Trump is an evil king dictator. But, dude, he went through the proper process. I mean, and matter of fact, look, I don't think that it's strictly speaking public, but didn't Trump want to run or try to run as a Democrat? Not saying that he signed up to run for president under the Democrat Party, but I'm sure he went to somebody and said, look, I want to run for president. I've been a lifelong Democrat, so I'm going to run for president. And perhaps somebody, some higher up in the Democrat Party probably said, look, that ain't going to happen. You can apply, or like you can sign up and you can announce that you're running, but we'll just Bernie Sanders your ass. You're not going to, no, that ain't going to happen. I'm not saying that that's what happened. I'm just saying that, this is a distinct possibility. So he's like, all right, fine, then I'll just run as a Republican. And he did, and the rest is history. But he went about it the right way. And the American people voted for him, obviously in 2016 and obviously in 2024. And in 2024, he got the popular majority. So this whole King's protest nonsense is just blatantly retarded. So anyway, let's watch that.
Would you like J.D. Vance to be the president then?
No, I would not.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who would you like to be the president?
Kamala Harris right now, but she didn't win. But
Can I point out something
installed.
that we say no kings and no authoritarianism, but Kamala Harris, no one voted for her.
Yes, they did. Half the country voted for her, so let's not go there.
No one was voted for her to be the nominee.
Yeah,
yes,
not the nominee.
Isn't that what, authoritarian?
Yeah, they took it from
Biden.
Biden.
The wrong road right now with me. I wouldn't go any further.
What does that mean?
I'm not going to talk to you anymore. That's what it means.
I just think it's ironic that no one voted for her to be the nominee. They just selected her like a king gets selected, right?
But keep it to yourself, okay? Bye. Have a good day. See ya. Take care.
What's your other sign say?
You don't need to see it.
Okay.
None of your business.
Yeah, because it means literally nothing. All right, that was a good one. That was entertaining. This is peak Trump derangement syndrome. Caught on camera, interviewer asks a far-left No Kings protester, name one single decision by Trump that you disagree with. Her brain, complete shutdown. And that's what happens with so many of these people. And they just don't have anything. Like they'll say, he's an R word, which YouTube, again, doesn't like me saying the R word, but I think we all know what it is. R-ist. And the pedo and like buzzword, but they don't have any substance to back it up at all. They like to throw name. He's a Nazi. Okay, well, what makes him one? He's a dictator. Okay, well, how exactly is he a dictator? I mean, they just have nothing to say but just ridiculous buzzwords. So anyway, blank stare, total system reboot, zero answer, years of screaming Orange Man bad. We get the idea.
So what brings you out today?
No King's Day.
And why specifically are you out supporting No King's Day?
I think protest is important.
Why are you protesting?
Uh-oh.
How much time do you have?
A couple minutes. And what's the main reason you're out here protesting President Trump?
I agree with a lot of the decisions that are being made.
Is there any decision in particular you disagree with?
Okay, so I would start with well, I don't even think it's appropriate for me to have this interview.
No, because you have no idea what you're doing. So many of these people have no idea what they're doing. It's just beyond idiotic. It's the university system. And in large part, especially in blue cities, the education system, public education system. And of course, the mainstream media had a big part in it too, brainwashing a lot of people, especially during the COVID era. And it's really sad, if anything. I don't want to have any hatred toward any of these people. They're lost. They're completely lost. All right, conservative brief. Reports indicate over 8 million people across 3,000 cities participated in the No Kings protest yesterday. And this was on Saturday. Well, this post was yesterday on Sunday, and the No Kings protest was on Saturday. And every one of those 8 million woke up today to discover Donald Trump is still their president. LOL. And this is apparently a shot from one of the No Kings protests, which it may be, may not be, and just some overhead view, maybe a drone or whatever. So, all right, Eric Doherty, holy smokes. It was just confirmed that No Kings protests are funded by 500 organizations with $3 billion in annual revenue nationwide. Fox investigated and found that it's George Soros and Neville Singham linked groups and nonprofits. Marxist groups are involved, including the Party for Socialism and Liberation and the People's Forum. It's being called a staged, managed production. We all knew it was staged and funded.
From these 500 groups with, get this, a $3 billion budget.
Show us the numbers.
And where does their, political influence, their political contributions, and
where's their intelligence, man?
Individual employee
where's their common
donations
sense?
Go, but mostly to the Democratic Party, and that's why we see this silence. And unfortunately, they pull their punches on the issues that matter to you, for example, that you just cited, because that would mean turning against the Democratic politicians that they're trying to keep in power.
So great to have you with us today, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're willing to burn it all down to maintain that power or to clinch it back. No Kings financials released. The financiers: Arabella, $79 million, Warren Buffett, $16 million, Ford, $51 million, Rockefeller, $26 million, Soros, $72 million, and Tides at $45 million, with a grand total of $294,487,641 from this weekend's No Kings protest. Now, I did look this up at Real Anna Paulina's profile because they claim that's the source. I didn't see this anywhere on Anna Paulina's profile, so I'm calling them out on that. I'm not saying that this isn't true. I'm just saying that I didn't see it anywhere on Anna Paulina's profile unless she posted it like over a week ago, because I went back like 3-4 days and didn't see anything. But it's really small to read. I will repost it because there's a lot of numbers here on this spreadsheet showing a lot of digits. A lot of organizations are on here on the left-hand column. And that is crazy, man. What, $250 million that's being that's funding all of this insanity. And rolling on to Red Wave Press, Scott Jennings. These No Kings rallies actually look pretty representative to me of the Democratic coalition. I saw people flying the hammer and sickle in New York City. I saw Hezbollah flags. I saw Hamas flags. I saw Palestinian flags. I saw trans flags. I saw weirdo liberal boomers out there. This is pretty representative of the Democratic coalition, and that's who funds it, by the way. Of course. This is on CNN.
No Kings rallies actually look pretty representative to me of the Democratic coalition. I saw people flying the hammer and sickle in New York City. I saw Hezbollah flags.
It's hilarious, man. You can't make this shit up.
Hamas flags. I saw Palestinian flags. I saw trans signs. I see weirdo liberal boomers
Gays for
out
Palestine.
there. This is pretty representative of the Democratic coalition, and that's who funds it as well, by the way. Yeah. And so I think if America looks at this and says, what do the two parties stand for?
Shaking his
they
head
got
for
it at the No Kings rally.
No,
I saw the videos.
Americans were out there.
Don't believe your lying eyes.
You like hammer and sickle? You like hammer and sickle flags?
That's not what that No King stood for.
They had a bunch of them.
And that is.
No King stood for what? Communism? That's what they're standing for?
Thank you, one and all.
I mean, that's kind of ironic, though, isn't it? That the No Kings protest is all about communism. These people are retarded. Oh, my God. Eric Doherty, she just nailed it. No Kings, unless it was during the pandemic when all the mom and pop businesses were shut down and so on and so forth, which she's absolutely right.
No Kings. Unless it was during the pandemic when all the mom and pop businesses were shut down, but the government said it was totally fine for all the major super rich corporations to continue operating.
Yeah,
but I didn't really care because as long as I could get my Starbucks and go to Target, I was fine.
Oh, yeah. They were all open.
Except during the pandemic when we told people that they would lose their job unless they took a certain medical product, or they couldn't even go into certain restaurants without vaccine paperwork. That was crazy. But
Show
I
us
didn't
your
really care
papers.
because I just complied. No Kings. Remember when we also told people that they had to not visit their loved ones that were sick and dying in the hospital, the elderly? They had to die alone. That was really sad.
16,000 died in New York.
Completely wrecked
Thanks
the
to their
developmental
policies.
learning
Governor
for a
Cuomo.
whole generation. I mean, that was tragic, but we don't really talk about that because that's over now. New outrage,
Yeah,
no Kings.
it's over. Don't bring up history.
Remember when we were told over and over if we got that medical product, we for sure would not get sick. And even though the people that got it immediately did get sick, we were for sure told they wouldn't spread it. And then
It was never a vaccine. It was a therapeutic. That's what it was the whole time. I mean, it was such bullshit from the outset, and that's exactly what they said. Anthony Fauci said it, and then a month or two went by, and they said, well, yeah, okay, fine. You'll still get COVID if you get the vaccine, but the symptoms won't be as bad. It'll keep you out of the hospital.
that
Such
gradually became, well, like 95%, like 75%.
Uh-huh.
Okay, there's no evidence it does what we told everyone it does, but we've already made everyone take it that
Double
would
mask.
anyway.
Triple
And no one
mask.
really cared because it's new outrage time, no Kings. And do you remember during that time, anyone who tried to bring attention to these issues on social media was censored
Banned.
or their account was banned? And
Bank
limiting free
accounts
speech at that time
banned.
seemed okay to me. I didn't really think about it. No Kings. You don't hate
Nurses dancing around like
authoritarianism.
clowns.
You just hate what you're told to hate by the algorithm
jab.
and the news outlets. Be so for real. I just wish the anti-authoritarian energy was present during actual tyranny from both the federal and local governments during that time. But no, of course not. And it's not authoritarianism if the majority of the people voted for it, both popular vote and electoral votes. People wanted the border secure. So settle down and start thinking for yourself. Turn off the TikTok. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, amen. Absolutely. They brainwashed you, really? Yeah, I remember, like, there's so many of those memes. Like, there for a while, I was saving the memes that I was a fan of that I came across, and I've probably saved up, like, maybe not 1,000, but I've saved up hundreds of them during the COVID era. I've got so many of these memes. I don't know if maybe I should dig those back up and be like, you remember this? Remember this? Remember this? Remember this? But yeah, I never got the COVID vaccine. I never even got a COVID test. I didn't get anything having to do with COVID, but I got COVID twice. I got the Delta and I got the Omicron version. And I know that I did because my loved ones that I'm around every day, they ended up getting it because like they got the vaccine and whatever, but I didn't want it, so I didn't get it. And I'm as healthy as I ever was, even after getting COVID twice. As many other people, they have the same story. And I just decided to just maintain my faith in God and the immune system that God gave me. And turns out I was right. God was right. Made it through just fine. All right, Adam Carolla, this I think is also hilarious. Back when this also happened, you No King's assholes better go find a fucking mirror. Valerie Ann Smith, never forget when skate parks were filled with sand to make them unusable during COVID-mandated lockdowns. Never forget how they treated us, locked us down, and ruined outdoor parks to keep us inside. And yeah, I don't know if you remember this. I certainly remember when this happened, that they filled in all the skate parks. And the skaters even rebelled. And they dug out these really thin little pathways so they could still skate, which of course they kept sending these people out here to fill it in over and over whenever they did that. Some guy went out there surfing, I think out there on that same beach. Some guy out there all by himself went surfing alone and was arrested for surfing when nobody was around. And actually, that reminds me, there was one other story I remember with a woman who had a boutique store in New York City, and she had closed her business. It was closed to the public, but her business was still open in the way that she was selling her merchandise on Facebook Live. She was going live, and she was showing her trinkets and just items that she had in her shop, and she numbered them. She gave all of her items like a 3-digit number, so when she showed it, kind of like QVC. If you see something you like, then send me a message, and then just look on the screen for the payment. I'm sure she had like payment methods or whatever. But anyway, like the authorities, the police showed up and forced her to take down her stream and forced her to close her business, even though it was not open to the public. I distinctly remember that happening, and that was just absolutely insane. It just such an absolute, just evil, bizarre time we were living in. Gunther Eagleman, No King's leftist clown tries to block an LAPD horse with his body and gets launched into the ground, just like the idiot he is. FAFO in real time. Uh-oh. The horse kind of gave him like a little love tap at the end. Like just a little meh.
Watch your back, watch your back.
Hey, you don't want to mess with cops on horses, man. Yikes. Yeah, FAFO. Okay. So anyway, it looks like we're going to move on from the No King's nonsense from Patriot Newswire. Rep. Randy Fine is getting blasted for this speech. Democrats care about 3 things: Muslim terrorists, Somali pirates, and illegal immigrants. Fine said the opposition says his speech was unbecoming of a congressman. Was his speech inappropriate, or is he right? No, I think he was probably absolutely right, but we'll just hear him say it.
Is not an important service the American people deserve. What I have learned in this debate is Democrats care about 3 things: Muslim terrorists, Somali pirates, and illegal immigrants. And what's clear to me, if we want to fund the...
Look, if they're pushing back against that, you could at least say at the very least that they're putting those 3 groups over American citizens. That is 100% absolutely the case.
Department of Homeland Security and get them on board. There's one simple solution. Have all of those TSA agents declare they are illegal immigrants, because then they'll rush to get the money over to them to get them funded. It is not right to keep the government closed.
That's sad, man. That's sad that
policy. Let's have those debates. But the same people who demand these folks not be masked spent years demanding the rest of us get arrested if we weren't willing to wear them.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, I pointed that out too.
Is stunning, and the American people
I thought they were all pro-mask.
Being served. We needed the job to get done. We need to get the whole thing funded, and I support the resolution fully.
And look, ICE wouldn't have to wear masks if these freaking brain-dead like leftists weren't following them around everywhere trying to constantly dox them, which is exactly what they're trying to do. That's why they want them to take their masks off, so they can show who they are, so they can start harassing their family, start showing up to their house and spray painting hate symbols on their garages and shit like that. All right, Dustin Grage breaking. This happened in Minneapolis today, and another leftist judge doing what leftist judges do. So Abu Bakr Ali, who claimed to have served 1.5 million meals through Feeding Our Future, will serve just 1 year and 1 day in jail or prison. Why would anyone follow our laws when there are virtually no consequences? So he's one of the Feeding Our Future people that stole money. I looked into this. He stole like somewhere around $129,000, and he was ordered to pay back somewhere around $123,000. So he wasn't ordered to pay back all of it, but he's one of many people that stole a combined $250 million. And a lot of people are accusing him of being like the one and only person who stole $250 million, which isn't true. It was a whole bunch of people who did. However, for him to get just that amount of a punishment, only a year for stealing over $100,000 of taxpayer money, are you kidding? Right Angle News Network breaking: outrages erupting after leftist judge Nancy Brassel sentenced Somali fraudster Abu Bakr Ali to just 1 year and 1 day in prison, despite him stealing over $1 million by fabricating 1.5 million fake meals in the Feeding Our Future scheme. And again, I looked it up. I mean, I'm saying it, so I might as well look it up just to get confirmation on it. So I'll do that. So I'll start with Google. How much did Abu Bakr Ali steal from taxpayers? And when you look down for personal gain, Ali personally obtained at least $129,000 as part of the scheme. And at his sentencing on March 30th, 2026, Ali was ordered to pay $122,698 in restitution. I don't know why they didn't make him repay the whole amount. I thought that was standard with the federal government. If you steal $1 million, they make you pay back $1 million. But anyway, allegedly, he had already paid back like $90,000. I did read that somewhere else. Also from Grok, how much did he steal from the taxpayers? And Grok, same number. He personally obtained at least $129,000, which would be around between $82,000 and $123,000 of restitution figures from the scheme. He was involved in the massive Feeding Our Future fraud case, $250 million scandal, defrauding federal child nutrition programs during the COVID era. So there you have it, and we'll take a look at this clip.
In addition, he started his own meal site in Eden Prairie and collected $1.1 million that way. In addition, he's...
Yeah, you see, like, there's different numbers being thrown around, but according to Google and Grok, they're both consistent with the numbers, so, you know, that's the number that I'm just personally sticking with, even though a lot of people are saying $1 million. A lot of other people are saying that he's responsible for the entirety of the $250 million. But anyway, holy smokes, Eric Doherty, J.D. Vance's anti-fraud task force is not holding back. They are now investigating the most expensive welfare programs with minimal fraud enforcement. $2 trillion in Medicare and Medicaid, $101 billion with SNAP, $100 billion in small business administration loans, $64 billion in public housing, $43.5 billion in unemployment insurance, and $16 billion in needy families. LFG, we needed this. And I don't know if that's an annual number. I mean, I would somehow, I mean, look, is this like the entirety of these programs? I find it a little crazy to think that $2 trillion worth of Medicare and Medicaid is fraudulently stolen per year. That sounds like the size of the program. But anyway, regardless, I'm sure we'll learn it here in the clip.
Which was shared exclusively with us. They plan to focus...
Yeah. So I was right. This is the spending per year. That's not the amount of money that they estimate to be fraudulently stolen from these programs. This is just the amount of money that's being spent in these programs per year. $2 trillion from Medicare and Medicaid is absolutely brutally insane. Completely insane. Obamacare just ruined everything in our healthcare system. Absolutely just completely ruined everything.
High-speed, low verification programs. You're looking at the full list of the programs right now Trump is focusing on. It includes Medicare, Medicaid, which spends $2 trillion a year. They're also looking into the Department of Labor's unemployment insurance's $43 billion with the B a year spending spree. And yesterday, the task force hosted its first meeting.
Americans have turned over trillions of their tax dollars to social welfare programs.
I showed
to
this
help
right
their
here on the
neighbors
swap on
and
Friday.
fellow citizens through hard times. They've done so on the basis of social trust, the belief that their government, state and federal, will do the right things with their dollars. If we fail to address it, the fabric of our nation will swiftly unravel.
Let's bring in the vice.
Well, yeah, that would probably partially explain the inflation and the lack of the ability to get put on these programs for a lot of people who actually need this money or need these programs and the funding for them. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent from the president has been clear that Americans have a right to know that their tax dollars are not being used to commit fraud. Under President Trump's leadership, Treasury will continue to find and disrupt fraud schemes wherever they exist, and we will work with our law enforcement partners to hold perpetrators to account.
Cracking down on fraud. We know the vice president's been giving that task, but now you say, Uncle Sam needs you, is how New York Post interpreted the interview you gave them yesterday.
Yeah, man, look at that. Reward program offers whistleblowers up to 30% of scammer fines. And that's how the whistleblower programs work. If you are a whistleblower for a company and they end up getting sued or they're found criminally liable, and if they recover, let's say like $100 million, then you, if you're the only whistleblower, then you are entitled to somewhere around 30% of that recovered sum. So whistleblowers, they stand to essentially get extremely rich overnight, depending on the scale of what it is that you're whistleblowing, if it's seen through to the end, and if you're proven not only correct, but I'm assuming that you probably testify and you have to go through the whole process and everything. But there's some massive incentives for whistleblowers if you've got like legitimate dirt on someone.
Actually asking the American people, if you know of fraud that's going on and substantially, come forward, you'll be rewarded.
So, Brian, President Trump started this early on in his second term. Vice President Vance has been given the task of accelerating this. And it's almost like a suitcase in an airport. If you see something, say something. The financial institutions, because of President Trump, Vice President Vance's leadership, and Treasury's actions, we have seen financial institutions now filing what we call suspicious activity reports, SARS. That's up 20%. Because they are the front line in identifying financial fraud. When nonprofits, whether it's daycare centers, hospice care, when they start wiring big round numbers out, that's a problem. There are large multinational criminal organizations that are doing healthcare fraud. So we are all hands on deck because this is money that is not going to where it's supposed to go, but more importantly, it's being stolen from the American taxpayer. We need to be a high-trust society. We need to understand that this is where the money is going. And this administration, this could be hundreds of billions of dollars in recouped money. And again, the programs are supposed to go to those in need.
Yeah. And it's crazy. But there's even federal laws that are supposed to be protecting whistleblowers. Not sure how solid they are or how often they protect them, but there are federal laws that are supposed to be protecting whistleblowers. I'm not crazy about the idea of 30% of recovered money going directly to an individual or a group of individuals that are whistleblowers. I think maybe, I don't even know, like a reward of up to like $1 million or something like that might be a little more appropriate because, recovering money that was fraudulently stolen from the taxpayers, I mean, a percentage that large, I just don't think that should be going to someone who blew the whistle. Just my own opinion. I think that money should be returned to the taxpayers, and whistleblowers should get somewhere. Just name a number, like maybe $1 million, maybe a 10 million maximum, something like that. But that's not the law, though. The law is it's somewhere around the realm of 30% of the recovered sum. From the Treasury Department today, in support of the president's pledge to combat fraud and in line with the anti-fraud task force being led by Vice President Vance and Financial Crimes Enforcement, issued an advisory urging financial institutions to be vigilant about fraud schemes targeting government healthcare benefit programs. Separately today, the same entity issued a proposed rule paving the way to pay whistleblowers for actionable tips. And they have a link to the Treasury's website. Treasury targets fraud schemes exploiting government healthcare benefits. So if you want to read that in detail, there's plenty of reading material there. That'll be down below linked. And we will roll on to the next. Oh, one more. All right. FBI Director Kash Patel. The only thing, oh wait, hold on here. Let's read this one first from Todd Blanche, who works in the Department of Justice. He's the Deputy Attorney General serving under the leadership of AG Pam Bondi. Governor Christie is right about one thing. We did clean house. What he calls obliterating DOJ, the American people call restoring justice. His fake outrage is just a bridge too far, and this is from Chris Christie. Will the American people have faith any longer that any investigation can be independent and free of partisanship? Todd Blanche is obliterating his reputation and the reputation of the DOJ.
So Chris, what he's saying is that anybody that had anything
former
to
New
do
Jersey
with
governor,
any of those federal prosecutions
ran
of
for
Trump,
president against Trump in
like
2016.
Line prosecutors, FBI agents, they've all been weeded out, and there's a lot of personnel.
Look, this is the single
lot of partisan hacks
thing to the
left-wing bureaucrats
stability of our institutions that has happened in the second Trump term. The dismantling of the Department of Justice and the greater partisan activity, as the Deputy Attorney General himself just admitted in that clip, that the only reason these people were let go was because they followed the direction of the rightfully appointed Attorney General of the United States, confirmed by the United States Senate.
I somehow doubt that's what he said.
Investigations. And because they did that, they're being fired. Well, what is going to happen to the Department of Justice going forward, regardless of who the president is? Will the American people have faith any longer?
We're firing you
that
because
any investigation can be
you did your job
and free of partisanship. And to go down to CPAC as the Deputy Attorney General of the United States and brag about that is disgraceful. Disgraceful. And he is going to have to live with the reputation he has developed now over the last 2 years. Prior to this, Todd Blanche had a very good reputation inside DOJ. You want to talk about obliterated? We didn't obliterate the Iran nuclear program, obviously in June, but he is obliterating his reputation and the reputation of a department that I worked for and that I really love, and I'm mourning right now.
Well, okay. Look, over 90% of the DC bureaucracy who votes, they vote Democrat, and DC has always been very, very deeply blue Democrat, so you're always going to have that problem, unfortunately, in our federal system in DC. You're going to get a bunch of Democrat-aligned bureaucrats. And how do you fix that? I don't know. Other than maybe decentralizing the government geographically, trying to just maybe apportion different departments all over the country, which, I mean, we are in the 21st century. They can coordinate like via like Teams or whatever, like just, web through the internet. Just not sure if that's like the best solution, although that's potentially a solution. There's some departments that have been relocated out of Washington, D.C. fairly recently. But anyway, so we did read Todd Blanche's response to that, and FBI Director Kash Patel responding to Chris Christie and Todd Blanche. He says the only thing being obliterated is the institutionalized weaponization of justice, i.e. the deep state, which I'm sure Chris Christie is a big fan of. At least it sounded like that he is. Or did I have it wrong when I uncovered that a political party in the 21st century bought and paid for false political trash intel from a washed out foreign source only to send that info to a federal judge via the FBI and lie under oath about it all, just to illegally surveil their political opponent? Russiagate. Revisionist history from same mainstream media that was the MVP of this deceased temple of corruption. And yeah, I mean, he raises a really good point there. And of course, Chris Christie he's not going to want to touch on that at all, about how the left has weaponized these institutions far more than the Trump administration or Republicans ever have. I mean, probably by a factor of like 50-1. All right, Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Today, the Justice Department sued the state of Minnesota for allowing boys to play in girls' sports and use girls' locker rooms. This DOJ acknowledges biological reality, and we refuse to let high school girls be subjected to this treatment. It's not only unfair, it's deeply inappropriate and dangerous. Proud to partner with Secretary Kennedy and the Education Secretary Linda McMahon on this important litigation. And I don't see any link to any article that she had included with that post, but I believe it. I mean, it came from her government account, so they're suing the state of Minnesota. Reagan Reese. Scoop. Trump's D.C. task force has cleaned out 142 homeless encampments throughout the day, and now there are no known encampments between National Park Service units in the D.C. area parks, according to the data provided by with the Daily Caller. It's been 1 year since the Make DC Safe and Beautiful Task Force was created. They've made over 11,000 arrests of 62 known gang members and 1,956 narcotics subjects, 1,036 subjects of firearms offenses, and 30 homicide subjects in the last 365 days. That's some pretty big numbers. No wonder DC is a lot safer than it was. The White House fighting for a long-term solution for child literacy. The Second Lady of the United States, Usha Vance, announces Story Time with the Second Lady, a podcast designed to promote reading for kids. This is what we'll finish up with.
Right now, she's launching a new podcast for kids and families, Story Time with the Second Lady.
Because when we read, we grow. We will have someone come in, a special reader, we're calling them, read a fun book, have a very short little conversation, and then invite children to pick up books on their own. It's sort of just an advertisement for reading.
Why is this an issue that you care so deeply about?
Well, I have a longstanding interest in education. It seemed like a really natural fit because we have young children right now. But as I was teaching them to read, I was starting to see some of the statistics out there about the decline in literacy rates, about the fact that this is really a long-term trend, and it's worrisome.
All right, well, that's pretty cool. Second Lady Usha Vance starting her own podcast to promote child literacy. I think that's a great idea, and she's absolutely right, man. Our freaking education statistics have been just in the toilet, especially ever since the Federal Department of Education had started. So there you go. There you have it. And that'll do it for this episode. So if you enjoyed tonight's episode, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll be back tomorrow night as we explore the swamp Monday through Friday and everyone in it, the politicians, bureaucrats, agencies, the administration. I also post daily on X, which is where you can peek at the content for the next episode. And don't forget the video clips from tonight will begin dropping on the channel tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern. Thank you very much for watching. Always remember to stay positive. God bless the troops and God bless America.